Good morning. Sunday night soccer, as John just said. What does having that extra day, I guess, between Saturday to Sunday matches and do for you in training? Does it change anything that you guys are able to do? And I guess secondarily, how has training been in the lead up to it?
Yeah, the training, I guess, rhythm was a little bit different. We added a day of a very light training session, a little bit more competitive, but I would say enjoyable for the group. And that's the only difference is just the lead up. After that day, it was our normal kind of build and routine and focus in our preparation for Orlando. So a really good opponent that comes at a good time to challenge us.
About Orlando, you guys always seem to play really tight matches. It seems like a clash of two good teams every time you guys play. What are you expecting from them this time? Is there anything that stands out that might be unique to other times you play them this time you see them?
Not particularly. They're a very strong team. I think you said it, we have good matchups against them. I think they've had a lot of consistency with their group, personnel-wise, with their performances. Just watching their game, there's consistency in their play. They always compete well, but they have a lot of really strong players all over the field to give them a good balance. They've been one of the best teams in our league for years, in my opinion. You know, even with the ups and downs that teams experience, they've always been a very solid team. And like I said, consistency with Oscar, with their players, with their recruitment, I think they do a really good job. We always look at their team and admire the personnel, the way they compete, the way they play.
Your attack seems to be finding a pretty good rhythm lately, but their back line is known to be pretty strong. You've been also talking about just patience in the attack. Is that more important in a matchup like this, or is it with the challenges they present on their back line? Or I guess what do you see as the key for kind of breaking them down?
Yeah, they're a strong team, and part of that is how they defend against the ball. Physical center backs, but I think center backs that read the game well. With Bracalo, it's more of a center back playing on the left side, but has found that role in a really good way. With and without the ball looks a little bit different, but with Freeman, an excellent young talent. As a starting point, the structures worked really well for them, and they compete well. I think they communicate well to each other. So there's a reason they've been successful. And like I said, personnel-wise, they've had that group together for a good stretch to build relationships. But on our side of things, it's we've had a couple stronger performances with some attacking ideas and how we're getting to goal and how we're finishing plays off. So that's certainly been an improvement. But like always, then you're looking at the things that can be better. And on the defensive side of the ball, the last couple games, there's things that we need to do better to make sure that we're more complete.
And then kind of going back to Carter's first question, it was obviously just the one extra day this week, but the last international break, you guys didn't really take as much time off as maybe you would have in previous breaks. Is that how much of that is just because of all the new guys coming in and kind of the stage of the season? Like what is the benefit?
Yeah, the international breaks, it just kind of depends how you're going into them as far as how we utilize the days off, whether it's right after the game finishes, whether it's that following week. We tend to like to have 2 days off and then get into our 4-day build heading into the game outside of the international break. But it's just in each window you look at where the group's at. In this case, felt it was a good time to work on some things, and so that's what the focus was. And you mentioned the new players. Anytime you have a stretch like this, it's important to get as much across to new additions as possible. So I think it benefited us and some of those players, and you could start to see the ideas and understanding from some of those new additions become a little bit more clear. So yeah, that was kind of how we approached this last international break. But the new guys continue to improve, and I think you see our group moving in a good direction, and some of those new faces contributing in really, really good ways. So hopefully we can continue that.
We saw Roman back in training this week. Is he good to go? And I guess,
Yeah, Roman's making good progression. Probably could be available. I'm not sure if we'll use him this week, just based on where he's at, where we're at. We want to make sure that he's 100% in everything that he does, so there's no hesitation. But my guess is we'll be cautious with Roman and see how we get through this weekend. But in the next 2 days, if there was huge strides made, maybe we take a risk, but likely not.
Mostly because Evan has been kind of doing well in that spot.
Yes and no. Evan's done a really good job, but we also don't want to risk the player. So that, I think, takes priority over, Evan's strong play in Roman's absence. So starts with where's the player at, what's the risk, and we want to eliminate that. And then on top of that, Evan's done a really good job, and so, we don't want to put Roman in a position where there's any setbacks, and that's kind of the first talking point. But like you said, Evan's done a good job for us.
If I go on and ask the other, what about Matt Miazga? How is he?
Yeah, Matt will be out this weekend, making similar progress, I would say, where we think he's available for next weekend. But, with his injury, the timeline had him, a little bit longer than I think Roman's. So we'll just kind of see what the early stages of next week look like.
And is there any update on how close Obi is to being in the group?
Close. Obi will be with the group without the training wheels next week. So he's really pushed himself to be available, where the hope is that he gets next week partial to full, and then what we do on the weekend against the Red Bulls is TBD, but we're going to try to get him in a way where after that Red Bull game, he's got 2 weeks of preparation leading into that final game against Montreal, and available for that. But he's close.
Kind of speaking to that Obi point, so often this year, due to injury, whatever reasons that may arise, you guys have been really limited in the choices you can make as to who plays in that double pivot in that position. With Obi out, Yuya's been out, Sammy's now just joined into the group, but now with some of the guys coming back, Yuya's available, Sammy, sounds like Obi is at least on the way. How does having just a diversity of talent, different skill sets, as an option in the midfield in that kind of area, I guess that position is what I'll say, open up the game for you, change the way you guys are able to approach, and ultimately make different, hopefully successful decisions for winning a game?
Taking the position out of the conversation, it's important to have good health and depth. So, with Yuya back in the mix, Obi close, different skill sets with each player to, what the midfield structure can look like and what the strengths are, depending on how we want to line up, who we're matched up against. So it's good to have healthy bodies in competition. This is the most important time for that is, as you finish out the season and heading into the playoffs, to be very competitive. Competitive in training, competitive in how you push each other, competitive in what the, match day minutes look like. So I think right now we're in a much better place than we were, a month or two ago, and really a majority of the season. So hopefully we can continue that.
I guess to follow up, and it's kind of the same point I'm getting to with options, having guys like with a difference of skill set like Ender and Dom on the wing. I guess more generally speaking, is it at this point in the season, is it kind of nice as a head coach to have options in so many different places to maybe pull different levers to do different things for what the game needs?
Yeah, if you're like for like in every position with your depth pieces, it becomes predictable. So, if we're talking about our midfield, what Obi brings to the table is different than what Sammy and Brian and Pavel bring to the table, and Yuya. So it depends on where you're at, fitness levels, performances, matchups, all these things come into play as to how you make decisions. So, with Yuya coming back, with the addition of Sammy, with Obi close, our midfield depth is strong, and we got a lot of ways that we can go after our preparation and then our adjustments.
I know you felt good about your depth across the board,
Mhm.
but what are you missing with Matt not being available right now? What's the biggest thing that?
Probably communication, just leadership out of the position. That's something that Matt's, been very strong with since he's arrived, is that leadership, on-field leadership, and how he, reads the game and how he communicates to his teammates, because it's not easy for everybody to do that on the field when sometimes guys just want to get their job done right. And, Matt's able to do it for others at times.
And then Gilberto, got some action in the 2-game last week.
Yeah.
I guess, where do you see him? What do you need to see more from his development? Because he was playing a lot more, obviously, early in the season when you had more competitions, and kind of dropped off since then.
Yeah, I mean, with Alberto's minutes, there was injuries, there was absences to Miles, in the summer, so that factored into opportunities for him. And then you look at performances and then training. So I think just consistency, the willingness is always there. Those minutes were based on where we're at and thinking that it would benefit him more than potentially being a reserve in LA and not getting minutes. So he took those minutes well, got his goal, had a really good approach. So we were pleased with that, and it's really just about sharpness and what the schedule looks like for FCC2 to know how we want to get guys minutes if they're not getting them with our group. So he had the right approach and a good match, and it was good for his fitness and sharpness. So outside of that, it's just consistency in play, and it's not just Gilberto, it's what's his competition, and the competition and the health at that position is improving, and so is the performances of the guys around him. So it's a good problem.